Hi, I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Welcome to the Grassroots Business Journal. I'm your host, Paul Wilusz, where talking business meets social media. Today, as my guest, I have McCauley from RealityCrowdTV. Pleasure to meet you.
Thanks, Paul. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
This is a very interesting program because what we've done in previous shows is really have a talk about the different avenues of funding for small businesses. And this is quite apropos today. This is the coming thing. And let's just go with a few statistics. In 2013, $5.1 billion was raised from all crowdfunding activity. $5.1 billion. 50% was from peer-to-peer and 60% from charitable givings. Why crowdfunding?
That is the question, isn't it? Crowdfunding is people funding people. This is eliminating the middleman, where if there's an idea that is worth funding and there is mass appeal by a crowd of people, you can have direct people funding people, and that is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, how would that favor a small business owner?
This is how it would favor it, because small business owners are tuned in to their local locations. They are part of the community. And as the audience knows, the small business owners really help create communities in the areas where they operate. And so if a small business owner has a loyal following, a loyal customer base, and if they're active in their community, they've likely built up a lot of what I call social capital. They've built relationships with the community. People care about them. They frequent the place, and they love frequenting and using the products and services. So let's say a small business owner was trying to get a bank loan. Mm-hmm. The bank loan's criteria is only black and white. If you don't meet this certain level, we are not going to give you a loan.
Exactly.
If the small business owner doesn't know a wealthy person to help them raise funding for whatever they need, whether they need expansion or renovation, if they don't know a wealthy person, then they have no other options.
And for startups?
And for startups, exactly. A startup will have a need to raise capital because they don't have a track record, so a bank would not want to loan them money, right? Mm-hmm. But what crowdfunding does is, if the local community can rally around a cause that they believe in, they can essentially be that third option that was never available before. And if these people previously gave up on their dreams to start a small business or to expand an existing business because those other two archaic options were not there, crowdfunding is that third option that will give them the opportunity to raise the capital they need.
Now, before we got on the air here, you gave some other kind of statistics. Can you explain that a little bit? The latest statistics, let's put it that way.
Yes, and so Paul actually had an excellent statistic. So $5.1 billion was raised globally through crowdfunding. So this includes the different types of crowdfunding, whether it's the donation crowdfunding, the reward crowdfunding, which is a contribution in exchange for reward. All these different types globally raised $5.1 billion is what your statistics said. Mm-hmm. I went to a conference the other day in New York City from Coastal Shows where all the new crowdfunding, the who's who of crowdfunding was there. And they showed a statistic that at the end of 2014, again, end of 2013 was $5.1 billion. They're saying end of 2014, it's going to be $7.1 billion a year globally is raised through crowdfunding. And so if you know what the hockey stick graphs is, the hockey stick is like, bam, growth that goes up like that, right? Mm-hmm. It is growing exponentially. And what's funny is most entrepreneurs, most small businesses have never even heard of it. And so it's just going to grow more, because right now, in an informal video poll that I did in Starbucks, by the way, we have a Starbucks coffee cup right here, right there. And, the funny part about it is I went into a Starbucks with my GoPro camera, and I asked 8 people at random, have you ever heard of crowdfunding? Have you ever heard of Kickstarter? And Kickstarter is a crowdfunding website. 7 out of 8 people actually had never heard of either of those terms, which means only 1 out of 8 people, at least in that informal poll, have heard about crowdfunding.
Now, this is very much tied into the social media.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so if you have a Twitter account, if you have Facebook, you can be part of this type of funding. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, and even if you don't have those things, it's just a click away to create those things. So like Twitter and Facebook is free, LinkedIn is free, Google Plus is free, all these social networks, they're all free. So if you don't have one now, anyone can create a social media account for free. And I always like to joke around with people. Like, some people are afraid to use it. I'm like, if you tweet out a message, you're not going to break social media. you should just try it, right? Just try it try to see what it's all about. But it's crucial for crowdfunding, because crowdfunding is, remember that term social capital that I mentioned?
Yes.
Crowdfunding is simply taking social capital and turning it into actual capital via the internet. And social media is the primary vehicle in which that type of distribution is going to occur.
Now, I know that I attended a seminar that you gave over at the Entrepreneurship Center in West Hartford. And I was kind of surprised at the Job Act of 2012 and its importance. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yes. So the statistic you mentioned, 5.1 billion raised. The government took notice of how quick funding was happening through this new mechanism. And again, prior to this law, it was only donation in exchange for reward. So just to put it in layman's terms for the audience, say you are a music producer and you have a talent in music and you want to create a music CD, but to produce a professional CD, it costs you, let's say, $5,000 to go to an actual studio. What you would do is this: if you wanted to start a Kickstarter project or an Indiegogo project, the two crowdfunding, the prominent websites, you would essentially say, I'm going to create a video of myself playing my music, showing my talent, convincing the American public that indeed I'm legitimate. You're going to put that online, that video. You're going to ask for $5,000 directly from the American public, and in exchange for a donation, you are going to pre-sell the finished production that you would get at a music studio. So for instance, let's say you were a rap artist. You could say that for $25, I will give you a finished copy of my CD once I produce it with the money you're giving me. And you're telling them that I'm going to give you that CD 3 to 4 months out in advance, because that's approximately what I believe it's going to take for me to produce it and get all the tracks in order, get all the different vocals in place. So I wanted to share that so that people can understand how it could be applicable to them. The Jobs Act saw the success of the $5.1 billion a year, and the government said if it works for donation in exchange for reward, can it work for small businesses to raise equity? In other words, can it work for a contribution in exchange for a purchase of a direct share in a private company, or a loan to a private company in exchange for an interest rate, a return on their investment? So they're saying no more donation, no more getting a trinket. Well, actually, I'm sorry, that will still occur. The government said, in addition to that occurring, the donation exchange for reward, let us actually allow private companies to raise capital that may not apply to the rewards-based model.
Okay.
Not all companies can use crowdfunding in the donation exchange for reward, but if you offer someone a financial incentive for a contribution, then I believe that a restaurant could expand to a second restaurant if their customers can actually buy a piece of that second restaurant. Wouldn't it be cool to say that I own the next, I own the next, Bobby's Steak Shack. Stake check number 2. I'm actually getting a return on that investment in addition to enjoying the delicious food that Bobby is selling.
Okay.
And now it's happening. The Jobs Act is allowing for this equity model to come into place for crowdfunding.
Okay. What got you involved in crowdfunding?
It's kind of a funny story. My background is very varied. I graduated from UConn with an accounting degree, so I started my career out in accounting. Switched to real estate for a while, switched back to accounting, went to restaurant management, switched back to accounting over a 5-year period. And then as I'm sitting in my last job at the Hartford Insurance Company, and we're sitting here in Hartford right now, I was there for a year and a half when I was sitting at my computer at my cubicle, and I get press releases from the government organization known as the Securities and Exchange Commission. And those press releases actually released the rules that related to the equity crowdfunding. So by chance, I'm a nerd, so I should be reading those things daily, but I never do.
Okay.
But by chance, on October 23rd, the day that it was actually released, I read it. I noticed it. For some reason, I opened it. Mm-hmm. And since then, I've quit my job. I quit my job on Christmas Eve, and I am going full speed ahead to help people, to inform them, to educate them, to really look at this as a viable option for their businesses, because frankly, the little guys have not had anything to help them for a long time. Mm-hmm. And crowdfunding is cutting out the banks. It's cutting out the black and white criteria, and it's allowing for someone to have a chance that they never had previously.
Now, I know that inside your PowerPoint presentation that you had given out as part of your presentation, there were a couple examples. Maybe just give us one quick example just so that our listeners will be able to really understand the real magnitude and the power that crowdfunding can really do for them.
Awesome. I'm going to give you 2 quick examples, if that's okay. So the first one, which is one of the most successful ones, is this technology called the Pebble Watch. So that was kind of shocking for people when I shared that one. The Pebble Watch syncs your Apple, your iPod, your iTV, anything Apple. It syncs it to your watch, and you can control it. It's like the first smartwatch that came out.
Okay.
They asked for $100,000. A month later, there was so much demand that they raised $10 million.
Wow.
So what happens in crowdfunding is you set your goal. So in the music producer's example, he set the goal of $5,000 to produce a CD. The Pebble Watch set the goal of $100,000 to produce the prototype of the watch. Mm-hmm. If you reach your goal before the time limit that you set for yourself to raise the money, it doesn't stop the campaign. If people still want to get more rewards on the reward-based model, you can raise much more than your established goal. Okay. And there was so much demand for that watch. At the end of it, 70,000 people contributed towards that 10 million.
Wow.
It was that much demand.
Okay.
A local success story which I love to share. This is a gentleman out of Hartford, a young African American male named Raymond Fraser, and Raymond had the idea of the tree sleeve. Mm-hmm. And the tree sleeve is really the sleeve that goes around, the Starbucks container, so you don't get burned. The beauty of his sleeve, however, was each time he sells a sleeve, he plants a tree somewhere in the world. So not only are they making the sleeve itself, but he's renewing the environment and planting a tree every time one of those sleeves is sold.
Okay.
He asked for $100,000. Went to 70,000, and he had a lot of time left. And I asked, why'd you? I looked at it, and he canceled his funding project. I said, why'd you cancel your project? He was at 70,000. He was going to hit 100. So I call Raymond up, and I say, Raymond, why on earth would you stop when you're right at the finish line? And he says, Manolis, you will not believe this. An angel investor was watching everything that was happening behind the scenes, and they called me and said, stop the campaign. Here's the $100,000. And by the way, let me introduce you to Starbucks. I swear to God, this is what he told me.
Wow.
So he is developing a presentation to actually talk to Starbucks right now about this tree sleeve. And in fact, I'd love to put him on your show as well. I think he'd be an amazing person to have.
Well, we've talked before. As you were talking and mentioning that, I'm just sitting there saying, I've met him. and he was supposed to come by and do a pitch to business as well. So it's good. I'm glad that to really hear that a local person here has really taken that on. At this particular point in time, since the conversation is really going well here, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Grassroots Business Journal. I am your host, Paul Wilusz, and today my guest is Wilusz from RealityCrowdTV. And we've been talking about a little bit about what crowdfunding is, just so that new business owners, entrepreneurs, etc., that really want to be able to really get into the game of their business, that really need some kind of capital to really get it started. I know that in the presentation that you give, you talk about the 9 stages of crowdfunding. Can you briefly go through what those 9 areas are?
Sure, and I would love to, and for the audience to know too, the reason why there needs to be 9 stages is because there's a big problem in crowdfunding right now. When people hear about crowdfunding, they get so hopeful, right? Mm-hmm. They hear that you could raise money through the internet, and they think it's this magical place where, you have a great idea one day, and a week later you could launch a campaign, and suddenly the internet angels are just going to come down and rain money on you. Unfortunately, that's just not how it works in a week's time. So the 9 stages of crowdfunding is a plan to be executed over 3 to 6 months. Okay. And so what the 9 stages of crowdfunding are is you have your business plan, your intellectual property, social media, which is, like you mentioned, one of the biggest pieces of this, public relations, campaign strategy, networking and team building, website development, profile and video, and finally, rewards fulfillment. Okay. So all those 9 stages have to be executed over a 3 to 6 month period in order to build a lot of momentum to succeed in crowdfunding.
Now, you're saying 3 to 6 months. Who do you need to really have with you, or what does a person need to have to really execute those strategies?
The most important thing they need is time. Time is a big thing. They need people who believe in them, who are willing to lend a helping hand. If they have neither of those, then they might have to go out and hire someone to help them. Okay. So in my opinion, depending on how big of a funding goal you have, if your goal is only $1,000, then I'd imagine you wouldn't need to hire anyone, because why would you hire someone and pay someone $1,000 for you to raise $1,000, right? Right. Doesn't make sense. Right. So if your funding goal is little, you could probably manage a campaign yourself. Okay. But you'll have to learn about all the different phases. You'll have to find a way to build a story that is inspiring, that pulls on the emotional heartstrings of why you're raising the money. Okay. And you have to build the credibility to get people to believe that you're worth funding. You know that you're worth funding, but people in general, they never know how to get into the what's in it for them mentality. Like, okay, you know why you love your project, but you need to convince other people why they should love their project and what's in it for them. Okay.
Now, you also have, in regards to the 9 strategies, you talked about what is crowdfunding, developing the strategy, selecting a dashboard. First of all, where can people get in contact with you at this point to really know about crowdfunding?
Sure. So if you go to my website, www.realitycrowdtv.com, we have all of our social networks attached to the website. We have all of our past episodes. So we have episodes that we've aired online interviewing other crowdfunding individuals and asking them about their journey.
Okay.
And we have expert interviews as well. So it's a great place to get education is the website.
Okay.
Additionally, my cell phone, 203-232-2462. I have an open door policy. It may take me a while to get back to you because I'm getting a lot of calls nowadays, but I'm willing to chat with anyone.
Now, you mentioned that you were at your cubicle over at the Travelers, and you read this information regarding crowdfunding. What made you then decide to go into it or to seek a little bit more about crowdfunding?
It's a great question, and because I have allegiance, I have to correct you. It was the Hartford.
The Hartford.
Yeah, sorry, the Hartford.
Okay.
And so this is why I loved it, right? For 5 years, and this journey started 5 years ago, I would say, for me. I kind of took stock of myself and I said, what in this world really makes me happy? I wasn't a happy person 5 years ago. And so I kind of took some time and I read a lot of books and I said to myself, what makes me happy and why am I currently going down the road of being in corporate America, doing these different things? And I came to the conclusion that something is being made for me to learn different skills in these different disciplines because there is something that I need to do in the future. I don't know what that is. Mm-hmm. I don't know what my chosen path is, but there's a reason why I'm going through these different jobs in these different years, trying different things and learning different disciplines.
Okay.
And so when I read it on October 23rd, I said, this is why all the pain happened the last 5 years. This is why I was unhappy. The only thing that made it worthwhile the last 5 years was I said to myself, there's something else coming. I'm learning. Look at your job as a learning opportunity. Don't worry about the political BS. Don't worry about all the crap that happens at a corporate world environment. Just learn as much as you can and know that when the time comes, you will know that there was an opportunity that was made for you. And I truly believe that when I read that press release, I said, this is what all the pain was for.
Mm-hmm. Now, with that, and I know that we could probably go on forever. Now, in the different 9 stages, he goes into a lot more detail on that. So with that in mind, maybe at some other point in time, we can come back again and go into a little bit more of that of crowdfunding issues and really what's going on with that one. At this point in time, I'm just going to say we're just going to go right into the Pitch Your Business segment. And with that, Wilusz, tell us about your business.
Great. Well, Paul, I just want to say thank you once again. This has been a pleasure.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Glad to have you.
So audience members, thank you as well. Thank you for watching the episode tonight. And my name is Wilusz Finorolakis, the founder and producer of RealityCrowdTV Media Corporation. The mission of our company is to inform, educate, inspire, and motivate entrepreneurs worldwide to start small businesses through crowdfunding and to provide a blueprint for how to crowdfund. In essence, we help you turn social capital into actual capital via the internet. What we're doing in order to really understand this amazing industry in crowdfunding is we're putting our money where our mouth is. Our reality TV show about crowdfunding, think Shark Tank without the bite, is going to bring a panel of mentors to nurture individuals and entrepreneurs who are looking to raise capital through crowdfunding and bring them through the 9 stages of crowdfunding. So our show's concept is essentially documenting the 3 to 6 month period before a crowdfunding campaign is ever launched to show entrepreneurs that information needs to be released. In the past, in the old world, when people had information, they would keep it because it was a competitive advantage. But now, because of the internet, because of technology, information needs to be released because entrepreneurs have dreams. The little guys need to be able to have the resources available for them to raise the capital they need, but ultimately to succeed in what they need to do. And so over a 3 to 6 month period, we'll have about 10 episodes to our reality TV show. Each week, entrepreneurs will compete in a series of tests, challenges, and obstacles. And if we start with 10 entrepreneurs, every week one will drop off because they didn't make the cut through the 9 stages of crowdfunding. By the final episode, we're going to have one entrepreneur left who will launch their crowdfunding campaign live on air so that they can get the most bang for their buck. So what would a reality TV show about crowdfunding be if we didn't crowdfund ourselves? So over the last 8 months, since October 23rd, 2013, we have been growing our crowd, growing our mission, growing our vision, and we are going to launch a crowdfunding campaign on either Indiegogo or Kickstarter in approximately 1 month to 3 months from today, which is July 7th. We are going to do this because how can we possibly help entrepreneurs if we can't crowdfund ourselves? So we're going to prove our own concept on ourselves by raising $36,000 to create a 15-minute pitch video, a sizzle reel, as they call it in Hollywood, to pitch to producers. Over the last 4 months, we've gone on a nationwide tour to identify entrepreneurs and experts, as well as ecosystems such as, where all the tech companies go to learn their skills. We've gone to incubators, accelerators, co-working spaces. I've been to Connecticut, New York, Boston, DC, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Houston, Austin, Denver, and Seattle. I can't believe I remember that. But I have all this on footage on our YouTube channel. We've identified a lot of great companies. Additionally, we're helping entrepreneurs as we speak with their needs throughout these 9 stages of crowdfunding. We're consulting people to help them as well, because our crowd grows larger, their crowd goes larger. It's a collaborative effort for everyone to work together. And so in the future, I see that the world is going to continue to use crowdfunding. I see dreams are going to come true. And ultimately, we are going to be in talks to nationally syndicate our show the moment we succeed in crowdfunding. And this is what my passion is. This is what our company is, RealityCrowdTV Media Corporation. You could find us at www.realitycrowdtv.com. We're all over social media. So YouTube/realitycrowdtv.com is where you could find our shows. And once again, my cell phone number is 203-232-2462. And I thank you so much for listening.
And with that, I'm glad that you tuned in to another segment of the Grassroots Business Journal. I'm your host, Paul Wilusz. Again, we welcome any comments and concerns that you may have in regards to this show and to future shows. Until then, Manolis, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
And we'll have you back again. And with that, keep talking business. Have a good night.